4, 3.
All right, what's up, everybody? I'm Dustin Coiner and Talkin Motorbikes, and tonight I've got somebody special on the show. I've got the BTR Badass herself, Mikayla Moore. What's up, Mikayla?
How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm just out here in SoCal, enjoying my, like after 6 o'clock, 100-degree weather.
Oh, geez, yeah. It's only it actually got up to 80 degrees a day. It wasn't as bad, but it did get pretty high up there today.
Yeah, so you're in Maryland, right? That's
I am.
your home base. Okay.
Yes.
So you know what? I mean, obviously, the reason why I have you on is because I've been watching you basically mop the floor with these other chicks in BTR, and I'm just like, who is this girl? So I kind
Yeah.
of want to get a little background on you and kind of figure out what makes you tick and like what supposedly, if I'm not mistaken, you come from a motorbike background, right? Your
I do.
family, you have a you're like a member of this like epic racer family, right?
Yep, you can say that.
Okay. So
So
tell me a little about that. Like, walk me through being a member of this racer family.
it all started with my dad. And we had a dirt bike, and he would ride me around the neighborhood. And surprisingly enough, not a lot of people know this because I haven't shared it before, but I used to have a fear with the sound of the bike. You know what I mean? I used to
What?
Yes, it's crazy, right? Look at me now, 16 years later, whatever, and I'm killing it out there. But no, he'd take me around the neighborhood, just be like, Haley, like, get out the fear of, like, it was just only the sound. Like, I wasn't even on the bike yet. I hear it start up, I'm running somewhere. And after a while, he took me around, and I was like, all right, like, I started getting over that fear of just the sound. And
And that
then
was at 3.
3 years old, yeah.
You started at 3. That is wow,
Yes.
dude.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then at 6, me and my brother, we had a 4-wheeler, and I'm just, we just go out there having fun in the field, and I ended up flipping the 4-wheeler actually. I came back in to pit my dad. My parents like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm good." And my dad, he's like, "Are you done?" And I'm like, I point to the we had a TTR 50. He's like, "You want to ride that?" My first time on 2 wheels, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I never forget the video in the moment because they had recorded it, and my dad was like look at him to go in his direction. I was like, I can't. And I ended up, that was my first time ever on it. And man, from there it's just been riding, racing, everything. The love of bikes, that's where it started from, literally.
Wow, at 3 years old. So like how did that 3 years old running around on a little 50 or whatever, like how did that translate into road racing? Like when did you start road racing?
So I would say like around 7 or 8. We had a friend and he went to this track, and it was Sandy Hook Speedway, a track that was local to us, like an hour and a half away. And they was like, hey, like, try your kids out, like, see if they would be interested in racing. And I did a race, and I guess at a young age I discovered that I had like the competitiveness in me. And I did a race the first time out there, I got second. And I came back in. I told my dad, I was like, I need scooter tires. Like, in order to keep up with this girl that's in front of me, that's beating me, I'm like, I need the right equipment.
Oh,
And I think,
you were on Nobbies?
yes, I was. They was
Oh
like,
shit.
not going that fast. We're just out there, stuff like that. So, but no, I rode. I did my race, and then I got second, and I was like, yeah, I need scooter tires. And from there, after doing that, then I started doing more races and stuff like that, and I ended up going to New Jersey Mini GP, and that's where like the more competition.
Yeah.
That's where that's rodeo, Joe Lamondre, the kids like those. Yep,
I think didn't Mazziato come from there too?
he did. Yes, he did. Him,
Yeah.
Brandon, a lot of kids. You know what I mean? A lot of kids came
Yeah, I
from the.
think I'm not sure it's the same club, but I think Keith Culver from the Yamaha school
Yep,
kind of ran that, right?
I believe so.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I know he was really big on the youth racing stuff back then, and that's really cool that you kind of came up through that program.
Yep.
So like, what was your first road race bike proper? Like
So my first road race
not
bike.
not a dirt bike with scooter tires,
Oh,
like a.
no, not a dirt bike with scooter tires, but my first road race motorcycle. It was a Ninja 250.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, Brandon's mentor at the time, or he still is his mentor, but Andy Reese was like, hey, like, your kids are getting pretty quick on these little bikes, like, put them on a 250. And I told my dad, I was like, yeah, no, that bike is too heavy. I was just doubting it, like, straight off the back. I haven't even rode the bike before. And I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. Like, it's a 250. Like, I'm fine with staying with the mini bikes. And then once I rode it and I got the hang of it, I'm like, all right, actually, I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started racing that, and then was that also on a go-kart track, or was that on a big track?
So that one, so surprisingly enough, me, my brother, and my dad, we did a endurance race with New Jersey Mini GP, and we was pitted next to Evolve GT in their track day organization. And
Yeah.
they called me, and my brother was riding like, hey, if you guys want to test out the big tracks, like, we have a track day coming up at New York Safety Track. Just come up there, ride if you guys like it. Go from there. And that's where I started. I got into 250, and then that was my first track day on the big bike was
At
at.
New York Safety Track. Where is that? I've heard of that track before. Where exactly is that?
So it's in Jefferson, New York. The guy it's his private house that has a track around it, and it's called
Really?
Mountain Top Airport because the straightaway, the guy, the owner, he flies planes, so he uses his straightaway as his runway when he, in his
Oh, of
free time,
course.
to take off and stuff like that. And my brother, he's into aviation, so he was like, "Oh yeah, we have to come up here." But I really enjoy that track.
Yeah, it seems like a New York thing. There's a guy that I know. He's a pretty good dude. His name is Will Zig, right?
Hmm.
And dude, this guy, he's like this motorsport lunatic
Nice.
guy that has a house. He calls it the. I think it was what the heck's his name? Will Zig Manor or something, Racing Manor, I think is what he
Wow.
calls it. And he's got
Yeah.
like a road course in his backyard. Like the dude
Yeah.
he's gnarly, and he's come out and ridden with us at Laguna. He's a super good dude. But yeah, like I
That's
guess people come to his house and like
just tear
ride
up the track.
motorbikes. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Like yeah, like race cars, that kind of shit. So it's really
Right.
cool. And so New York Safety Track is literally like some dude's house.
Yeah, so they his airport is called Mountaintop Airport, and like as you're driving up to his house, like you're literally going up like a pretty big hill. You know what I mean? Like for us, when we're in RV, like we had to carry all the momentum from the bottom of the hill to make it to the top of the
Oh
hill just
man.
to go up there. And once you're up there, it's like, oh man, like once you do the track, like they run downtown and uptown. They do the track different ways, and oh my gosh, it's
Downtown and up, is the track like is it hilly or something? Is it
has
like
a lot of elevation.
oh,
So if
does
you
it?
run
Okay.
uptown, the straightaway you're going up the hill, and then you go turn one, you kind of go down the hill. If you're running downtown, turn one, it's a very slow corner, and then you have to get the bike slowed down to go to the first corner, and then you're going down a hill, and then you kind of carry it back up. So it's but they do it both ways. I'm a fan of the uptown because turn one, you got more space. Downtown, if you want a 600 1,000, you're carrying a lot of speed into turn one. You know what I
I
mean?
bet. Sounds
If you're
like
not
it.
looking where you want to go, things can happen.
That's every track actually,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yep.
Like we've all like eventually you'll know what it's like to have, messed up stuff, like
Yep.
yeah. So New York Safety Track, that was your first track day. So
It was.
then like how long did you do track day type stuff before you're like, you know what, I gotta go racing? Like,
So I was 12 at the time when I did my first track day, and
man,
2019
so
was my
jealous.
first. Yeah, so 2019 was my first CCS race. They was like, hey, you guys are getting pretty quick. We was an intermediate group and working our way towards expert group. They're like, try your hand at CCS. You never know. Like, just go out there. And not gonna lie, my first outing, I was like, the first practice, I saw all these racers. I'm like, I'm used to racing on the mini bikes, but to be
You're
actually
like,
on.
what am I doing here? Is
Yeah,
that
I'm like, what's going on right now? I was just super nervous. They're like, just go out there and ride. Like, there's no cameras on you. Like, no one's about to be like, hey, like, come join my team. You know what I mean, or anything like that. So, and I was on a Ninja 300, so I went out there, and I believe that first weekend, me and my brother, we both podium, and then in that same season, we went out to Daytona, and we got first place, and they was like, hey, yeah, you guys are ready to go to expert group now.
oh wow. So like
Yeah.
you wasted no time going
Yeah,
from
no,
yellow
like
plate
so,
amateur
so with
to
CCS, they have it where if you do Daytona and you win first place, like it's automatic, like you're going to the expert, you're an expert racer now. But then also we did still have the point to go to expert if we didn't do
right.
the Daytona round.
So you've been winning races since the jump, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. They're
um,
very
o- so that was on the Ninja 300, right? So
yep.
like how long did you race the Ninja 300?
I would say about a year and a half. And then I ended up getting the Ninja 400. Well, actually, no, take that back. I'll probably say 2 years because my dad, he's always about slow and steady. You guys, he's like, I'm not, you're gonna go in the Industry 50. You're gonna spend time on that. You're gonna learn the bike. This is a slow bike, so you need to learn how to ride a slow bike fast. And then we're gonna move you through the ropes of everything. So went from Ninja 250 to a 300 to a 400. And now I race my 400. But yeah, I was on the 300 for like 2 years.
Okay. I mean, that's super fair, I mean, like I heard this about there's all these stories about racer dad stuff, and I think it was Tree Westby with his son Dane, and Dane raced an SV like forever,
Wow.
before going and being a national guy, the Wolverine or whatever, right? I don't know if you remember that, but probably not. It was way before your time, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I did.
But yeah, like a lot of racer dads that I've come across over the years, they like try to rush their kid into being a 600 rider right away. And it's like, dude, you got this little guy, he's like all helmet, big old 600 that makes 120 something
Yeah.
horsepower. And they're like, here, have at it, and it's like, here, let me buy you a full Graves, or whatever, R6. And so it's this little dude, like, so I think it's pretty cool to hear that that a racer dad is actually knows what's going on. And maybe that's because he raced too, right?
Yeah, so he raced CCS himself, like amateur. It was just, something to like when we was me and my brother, we was young, like he would take us to the track and we'll come with him and we'll watch and stuff like that. And then he was like, man, it would be so cool. We can make like a family thing. Like we're all into this. And then from there it was like, I mean, now look at us, we're still out here racing and stuff like that. So
Does dad still race?
so he races on the Ninja 400. He
He
loves
races Ninja 400 now too.
Yes, he races the same class I do. So there'll be times where, we'll be battling and stuff like that. But, like I tell anyone, I'm like, once, dad is dad, off the track. You know what I mean?
Right.
But on the track, once the helmet goes on, it's on. It's like it's competition at the end of the day.
So
You know
you're
what I
like
mean?
you go and grid up against your dad, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna stab dad in the neck right now for a plastic trophy, and then I
Yeah,
gotta ride home with him.
yeah. And then he's like, you could have went in this corner harder. You're
Oh,
breaking too early.
really?
Yeah, it's a good look, you know what I mean? Because then I learned like he'll be in front of me. He's like, "Why are you braking so early?" And or you get on the gas lane and stuff like that. So it helps me out to know, someone else that's behind me that's watching me. Like, hey, like these are some few areas that need to fix. And over the years, it's definitely helped me become a better rider.
And you said your brother races too?
He does.
Is he also on a Ninja 400?
Yes, we all on Ninja
Oh
400s.
my God, you guys are
I
all
mean, he
in
had the
like
600. I have
Jesus.
it as well, and he last year, no, not last year, 2021, he raced his 600 and he did very well. Now
Yeah.
he doesn't race as often. He's a private pilot and he's working his way to be a commercial pilot, so
Okay.
he's like big into his aviation. But when he does have time, like he'll still come back and do the track days with me because I have a 600 now and I'm working on building up my speed for that. And surprisingly, the last outing I did, I actually did pretty well on it, better than I thought I did.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
600 are you riding?
ZX6.
Oh man, you guys are drinking the green Kool-Aid over there, man. What's going
Yes.
on?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so so you said when was your first weekend out on the not the 600?
So my last weekend I did on it was May. We did a track day with Evolve at Summit Point,
Okay.
and I went out there and I'm like, you know what? Like I brought the 400 and the
But
600,
you
and I'm like,
haven't raced it yet. You
no, I
haven't
have not.
raced. Okay.
No,
Okay.
I did that bike. I did a frame up build on it.
Oh,
And yeah, it was really nice. I
tell me
love that.
about that. Like
That bike is
you're
really special to me. You know what I mean?
you did the frame up build on it.
Yes, with the help of my dad, but majority of the work I did. Most of the work.
So walk me through what you did.
Okay, so
Did you
I have
guys let me ask you, did you buy a bike did you guys get a new bike from the dealership and like tear it down, or what did you do?
So actually, the bike that I have now, or so the story behind it is basically I got a bike from someone and it was a track bike and he was selling it for a really great deal. And the bike was fine. I believe the water pump was going bad because I'll be out there riding and the temperature wasn't coming down and stuff like that. So my dad's like, you know what? At the time, we had a customer and he needed an engine, and I have a 2009, and the customer had the exact same bike. So you're like, you know what? We'll just swap the engines or take the engine from my track bike put it in his, fix the water pump, and he'll be good to go. And then, surprisingly enough, at a junkyard of all things, there was a 2009 ZX there. We took it out of there. My dad, we put some gas in it, threw a battery on there, and it just started up. Like, it was there. And I don't know how long it was sitting. So, my dad's like, I mean, you do need a motor for your bike. I'm like, I do. And he's like, you know what? Why don't, he's like, this is going to be your project. You know, take this motor out this bike, put it in your bike. And that's exactly what I did. I like
That's
painted
awesome.
made everything like, you know, I love color. So like the whole frame is like rainbow, the brake lines are pink, the wheels are yellow, it has a lot of colors to it. And yeah, that's within that same week, you know, I took one engine out, threw the other bike, put all the electronics stuff back on there, and I'm still riding it to this day.
No kidding. So you got really intimate with the torque
Yeah,
wrench,
I did.
right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was a really good look.
That's cool. That's super cool. Like to it is and that was after you'd already did the deal to do this BTR thing, right?
No, it was before.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
before, so so I found out about this program 2021. I got an email from Melissa Paris, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for two more ladies to do the flat track," and that was that. I'm like, you know what? Let me get information. Oh, I'm good. I don't do like I'm fine. You can go. I did the
Are you getting parented right now?
oh no, my dad's gonna forget to light it, and I'm like, oh no, it's fine.
Technical
Oh,
difficulties with the lighting here.
No worries, pops. All
you're good. You're good.
right. Okay, now we can see you better. That's cool. He's right. He's right.
Yeah,
You're good.
he's right. Thanks, Dad. But no, yeah. So you know, Bree Bree and Melissa. They was like, you know, we're looking for two more riders. Melissa was like, Bree, you know, Mikayla, she has road race experience, but you know, I think she'll be able to pick up flat track pretty quick. And I'm like, you know what? Sure, I'll try it. But at the time, the information that I needed, it didn't come back in enough time, and I already had a full season with CCS. So I was like, you know what? It's okay. Like they'll probably come out with this program again. You know, keep progressing with the program.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the program looks like it's evolved quite a bit, and
It
man,
is.
like
Yes.
so but going back to your frame up build, jealous. So did like okay, so you swapped engines on this Cowie, and you put
I,
it all together. Did you drill and safety wire everything and all
oh
that?
yes, yes, yes. I have the
How many drill bits did you break?
so actually I got lucky because the previous owner that had the bike had everything already drilled. So I just
Oh,
had
lucky.
yeah, I got lucky. I really did get lucky. So, you know, the brake calipers, I got all those done. You know, the master cylinder, and then if they're not safety wide, then I have a mark on it. So whenever like every session I come back in, I'll try to make sure I look at the marks, make sure nothing didn't get changed or anything like that. You know, make sure everything stays tight.
You mark it with like a whiteout,
Yeah,
like
a white. So it's really
okay.
bright. I mean, so yeah.
Okay. And then so and you painted this thing too? You said the frame, yeah, everything is
My dad, he was like, I told him, I was like, listen, you know my idea with this thing. Like, I want it to be bright. I want everyone to see this bike. So he's like, you know what? Took some spray paint, painted the frame, cleared it. Everything is like rainbow. And then my uncle, he powder coated my wheels neon yellow. The body work is purple, and then we threw graphics on top of it. So I'm like, yeah. Now
nice.
whenever I ride the bike, like I just take a moment every now and then. And I just step back like, man, like I actually did this thing. You know what I mean? Like I just love the overall look of the bike.
Well, like your BTR bike, that's your style too, right? That, and one of the things, like, I'm just gonna share something with you about myself. I have like my race bikes are like very like 80s lowrider style, so I've got like ridiculous glitter metal flake
Nice.
paint job, that kind of thing. And so when I saw yours and you had that reflective gold, I was like, hell yeah, dude. So like, what was your thought process behind that?
So we got an email when with being a part of the program, you know, they're like, hey, you know, your bikes are gonna be wrapped. So here are two websites and choose whatever color. And you know, my first pick was gonna be pink. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm gonna go pink, but then we were scrolling and I'm like, oh, that rose gold. And if it's gonna be the way that this picture looks, and they use a car as an example, I'm like, if this car will look or my bike will look exactly like this car, oh, it's gonna be the perfect
So they're
bike.
all wrapped. I didn't know. I like, how does it work? Because like I kind of had the assumption that the BTR thing was like you get picked, they send you a bike, and you figure it out, and you show up and race it. Like I didn't like how does it actually work though?
So last year program, it was like that. The girls that got sent, or the ladies, they got sent their bikes, and they had 3 months to build the bikes, do basically get it into race form, and then show up and race. For our program this year, because they was working on like they was on a time constraint. We didn't find out. Like I didn't find out to the program until February. I didn't
Oh
think that
wow.
to happen this year because last year when you follow stuff, I'm like, oh, around October, November time, they release applications like, hey, if you want to join, fill out your information, submit a video in, go from there. This year, I'm like, January's here, February's here, like, what's going on? And then I saw, I'm like, all right, cool. But I'm like, we don't have 3 months to build the bike either because our first race is in June. Like, this is just not enough time. And, I submitted my send a 2-minute video submission in. I submitted my video, and within 3 weeks later, they was like, "Hey, you've been selected for the first phase." You know what I mean? Like you still had to get through the other phase, and that's when we got. I got interviewed by Freddie Spencer, Scott Ribo, our program manager, and then Raul. He's one of the Royal Enfield. So I'm like, holy crap, like, this is all happening. And then from there, we got sent to Dallas. I'm like, oh, okay, so you guys fitted everything in one big week for us all to do together.
So the phase 1 was the interview with Freddie Spencer
Yes, Freddie Spencer, Scott
and
Ribo.
Scott
I love both.
Ryberic. Yeah, like I know Scott. Like he's been around for a while. That
I was
dude,
so
like,
nervous.
yeah. Like, do you understand, or have you figured out who Freddie Spencer actually is?
Yeah, so like when they was like, yeah, they was telling us who our men. Okay, that's cool. So I started doing some research. I'm like, holy crap, like Freddie Spencer is
Legend,
like,
a
yes,
legend.
literally. And I'm like, the fact that we get to be mentored by him, like that's so freaking cool. Like not a lot of people can say they got mentored by Freddie Spencer.
Yeah, that is a fact. Like,
Yeah.
dude, he is southern as shit, though, right?
He's very cool. Like he's like so
Woo!
like
Down home,
yes.
down
Yep.
home country, right?
Yeah.
Super good dude, though, right?
Really is.
So you do phase 1, that's the interview, and then when was the first time you guys all gathered on the racetrack? How did that work?
So once you get through the interview part, they basically get back to you like, hey, you've been selected. And they're like, hey, we're going all the way out to Texas. It's a 7-day, and the first day we get there, the 4 days we're there to build the bikes, and then the last 2 days we train on them. And then when we train on them, we got some mentorship by Freddie Spencer, and then we all got to be coached by Nick with YCRS.
Of course you did, Nick Idach.
Yeah, it was so
Love
cool.
that dude.
Yeah,
This
it was so
super
experience.
muscular gym rat guy. Seriously.
I will say, like, he sure knows how to drive. That's it was my first time on a van ride for the YCRS, and I was like, holy crap, like that was a ride. It was a wild ride here, literally. It really was.
Yeah, I work for Nick at the school,
Nice.
and all the students always come with a look on their face after the van ride with Nick.
Yes.
But it's actually pretty similar to the look that everybody has with every other instructor that drives in the vans, right? So that's pretty cool. So you got the van ride, and then you got to go out on track. And how did it work? Like, did Freddie give you guys all like some stuff to work on, or did the champion school help, or how did that work on track?
So we took we was in the classroom session. He's like, all right, everyone get ready. For the returning girls, they was lined up behind Nick. And Nick was like, they already have some experience with their bike. The only thing they have to figure out is the track. You ladies, you guys are coming in here basically, I'm not gonna say knowing nothing, but you guys don't know the bike handling, you guys don't even know the tracks and stuff like that. So we got put with Scott Ribo. He actually took us around the track, and we did some slow laps, and I'm like, just to get used to the bike. And the first session we're out there, they're like, whoever's up front, after a lap or two, you're gonna get dropped off in the back, and then just keep doing that rotation. Until you get the hang of it, because they are Royal Enfields, they're a different style bike, you know what I mean, things like that. And a lot of
quite a bit different style bike, right? Like
after racing it, like I'm in love with it. Like I didn't.
Are you really?
I am, like, surprisingly, I'm like, I didn't think I was gonna love it as much as I do. Like I love my 400, but riding the Royal Enfield, for some reason, the feel of it is similar to a 400.
Okay.
So that's what I enjoy about it. I ride my 400 fast, so I guess riding my 400 fast, it just transferred over to the Royal Enfield, and I happen to be riding that fast. So then once we did once we did our session, they're like, all right, like by lunchtime, they're like, no, you guys are gonna be on your own. We're gonna do some drills, some braking drills, some, come and carry all the speed. But by the time you get to me, you need to have this bike slow down without, doing no stoppy, doing anything crazy like jam on the brakes, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Well, you know what? I got a couple of comments come in, so let's get through some of that. Yeah. Okay. So Jonathan Tiller says, "Kayla, what up?"
Yes, I know. There's some of my fans back home. Hey, Jonathan.
Kamisha, I'm guessing that's your mom, right?
It is my mom. Yes.
Look at my baby girl. Okay, and Stan says your father Will and mother is outstanding. Used to ride with him, and when he got out of the military, so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then Brian Green, actually, he was corner working there. So he said he worked in turn 12 at the Ridge, and he said Saturday and Sunday, and that you looked so smooth coming into and exiting that turn.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the rest were the same. Well, no duh, dude. She won like by almost 20 seconds. Like what? Yeah, like right?
Yeah.
So how many laps did it take you? Like how long did it take you to figure out that you basically had everybody covered?
Well, as far as in a race,
I mean, like you rode with the other females, the other riders of the program, right? Could you already tell that you were fast from the jump, or like how did it work?
So our first, at Crescent we did we did a mock race, and the only girl that Martinez, she had her own things going on, so I didn't actually meet her right then and there. I didn't meet her until Road America, which was our first round. So
Okay.
the mock race was cool. It was like, we're gonna do 3-4 laps, just get used to the bike, you know what I mean? Like, we're not setting no lap records at Crescent, this is our last year, like we gotta go home tomorrow. And from there I was like, all right, it's not a bad bike, like, I have suspension changes to make. But then Road America came, and I'm like, going to the weekend, I was thinking these ladies have already been here before, from last year, and they know the gearing setup. They pretty much know the layout of the track. I'm going to this weekend blinded, so I need to pick up as much as I can, like figuring out the corners, figuring out my gearing, my suspension setup, things of that nature. And the first race, I went out there, and I ride. You know what I mean? The faster I go, the more fun I have. And I'm out there, and I didn't know how big the gap was. For some reason I was out there, and I can hear out of turn 3 of Road America, like on that long straight. I'm like, somebody is right behind. Like I know I can hear the exhaust, like it's blending with my bike. They're on the right side of me. Like I knew everything. And I watched the race, and they was like, yeah, no one was behind you. They're like, you probably was racing yourself.
Yeah, that wasn't you. That wasn't the person behind you. That was your exhaust reflecting off the ground.
Yep. And then I came in, and they're like, yeah, did you know you had a 17-second margin? I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, no, that's probably, from last place. Like that was, the overall. That's not, from the next time someone comes through. And then I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize that. I'm just out here having fun, doing what I love to do, which is race, and ride a bike fast.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first race, I think you won it by 17 seconds. I mean, like, I asked Jake Gagne this, so don't like get offended, but shouldn't you slow down and make a show of it?
It's weird because I'm like, I'm out there, and like I said, I thought someone was right there with me, and I don't do the whole looking back and see how big.
You have a pit board, right, or no?
No, we don't have pit boards.
No pit board. Okay.
Nope. So, but I do. I mean, I have a lap timer, which is what I go off of, just to make sure that I'm hitting my marks. On the solo too, when it's lit all green, the LEDs are all green, and it's all the way at the top. That means you're running a second faster. So whenever I saw the green, I'm like, I mean, at least I'm hitting my marks. But then when I watched the race, I was like, man, like I said, I didn't know it was that big. But then also in the first race, I didn't know Kaylee had a mechanical either.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, you win these races but I didn't realize that you had never been to Road America before.
No. All these rounds I've not been to.
I mean, Kaylee Bike, got within 11 seconds of you at the second race. Yep. But I mean, man, that's a long time on that bike, on that track. I mean, on that track, those bikes.
Pretty big.
I mean, like, how long did it take you guys to do a lap around it? Yeah, it's like
I think I
almost
got
3 minutes, like 2 minutes 54. Like that's
yeah, I think he was like 254. I mean, qualified
yeah.
at 253, but during a race, I was maintaining and hitting consistent 254s.
So yeah, I mean that seems like a really long racetrack for that kind of bike, right?
It is. I mean, the straightaways are cool, but it's like, all right, where are the corners at? You know what I mean? Like, you're just locked in, you know what I mean? Like, you're tucked behind the windscreen, like, you're trying to get all the wind to go over you and stuff like that. And, then when the corners come, you brake for the corners, get back on the gas, and the race is on.
A lot of the riders at Road America were talking about how much grip the new asphalt had there.
Yep.
You don't really have a frame of reference because you weren't there prior, but what did you think of the new stuff?
I loved it. The girls that was there last year, they was like, for instance, in the carousel, they was like, it was pretty bumpy there, so you had to be real strategic, as far as what line you was gonna take going through there. For me, I was, I'm going through there. I'm like, I guess first it was a treat, you know what I mean? Like us being new, we had a new track, new pavement, like a lot of new things happening that weekend. But going to the corners, I'm like, I found myself going into corners even faster and even more smoother because like the pavement is smooth. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I'm like, I'm taking this side. I feel no bumps. I feel the bike not getting out here. I don't feel any of that.
yeah. I mean, that echoes what basically everybody I've had on the show said. I mean, Cody Wyman from the Yamaha school. Sorry about my dogs barking.
I know you're good.
Doorbell rang. Sorry. Yeah, we have two dogs, but yeah, Cody Wyman was saying he's like, yeah, dude, going through the carousel, he's like, I'm leaning the thing over and
Yep.
leaning it over more and leaning it over more until my elbow's on the ground.
Yeah, and it's so smooth back there.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you got to learn a brand new racetrack with brand new pavement on it. That's awesome, and you dominated. Like,
Yeah.
what's it like to you get up there and you like what was your reaction when you found out that you had won by 17 seconds that first race?
It was a good feeling. You know what I mean? Did I think it was gonna happen? No, because like I said, I'm like these girls, like they already have a year over us as far as being on this bike. Like they know the feel
Yeah,
of it. They know and then their suspension and especially in the front is set up better than ours. So for me, I came off the track and being unaware of it, and the lady coming over and she's like, you won the race by 17 seconds. I'm like it blew my mind. I'm like I was almost lost for words because I'm like me personally, I felt like the race would be a little tighter, only because, like I said, they was here last year. But also, a lot of people are like, man, you're so smooth out there. You're so fast and everything else. But I'm like, like I said, I'm out there. I'm having fun, and the more fun I have, the more faster I go. You know what I mean? And so
that's
with those
badass.
combinations, a lot of things happen.
Well, that's how you're the BTR badass, right?
Yeah.
So the second race, Kaylee got a little bit closer to you there, but still, like you basically had the full straightaway plus on it, right? So
Yeah, but I
I mean,
also think
it's
a little bit of gearing because, like, for instance, like I knew going to that. Of course, you want to have on those bikes, you want to have the drive out the corners, but then you also want to have the drive for the straightaway because, like, on my 400, I'm able to like RPM it. The RPM range on it is so much higher. Our bikes are only like at 7,000 RPM, and
all right.
you don't want to live on a rev limiter. They do not like that at all. It like dumbs the
They
power
don't
down.
like living on the rev limiter. What?
No, no, they do not. It is
Oh,
not a good.
only at bike night. Only at bike night that
Yeah.
works,
Now,
right?
granted, when you come back in, like, of course, like, it's a good feeling, you know what I mean? But out there on the track, it's like, you have to literally shift, like, right before it hits the rev. So the gearing I was running, I was like, hey, it's like, if you want to try it, try it. She was like, she didn't like it a little bit. But, it's, you know what I mean? Like, some things work for some people and other things work for others. But, also that track, they was telling us, they're like, once that person in front of you, like, goes away, like, once they start gapping, it's hard to reel that person back in and to catch up. Especially if you don't have the gearing, or you don't have the
Right.
mile per hour. Like it really is.
So on a BTR weekend, like who do you have around you that's like your crew, and do you have access to talk to Freddie or Nick?
Yeah, so Nick. We only got to spend time with Nick for the 2 days at YCRS. Now we
Okay.
learned. I have a whole notebook. So even if he's not there, or like for this past weekend, Freddie wasn't there, for instance, I have a whole notebook that I've learned from what they told us and stuff like that. So I just go back in my notebooks and like refresh myself. But like on a typical weekend, we get there on a Wednesday, Thursday. we're all there. The mechanics are there. The truck driver gets there, and it's like it's moving day. So we all it's time to unload the truck. Once we unload it, then depending on what we have to do to the bikes, like we'll take that I don't know like hour to 1 to 3 hours to just make sure the bike's good to go. If you know the gear for the track, you change the gear, or if you have an idea for it, you know what I mean. Like you make your small little adjustments, and then Friday morning, we're the first ones out for practice, so it's like game on.
Yeah, brand new track, brand new pavement. Let's send the BTRs out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the weather
So
is all the way there in the morning.
no, but what I was asking is like, do you have your dad working on your bike? Like, how does it work? Like,
So
do you have a crew person that's dedicated to you, and you're like, hey man, I need to make this change, or do they just make you do it? Like, how does it work?
The Build Train Race program is we are all the ladies are the primary mechanics. We have 3 mechanics available for us. They are secondary, so we need their help. We ask for their help, but majority of the time, if we have to make a gearing change, they're like, all right, get that number 30 socket, take the 27, take the front sprocket off, start taking apart your bike. And if you need our help with insights, like, hey, do you think I should run this gearing? Like, they'll help you with that. But for the most part, like all the mechanics, like like I said, we're hands on with the bikes.
Are you changing your own tires too?
So we take the tires off. Dunlop, they take care of everything. But we
yeah. You're pulling the wheels off, taking them to the Dunlop. Okay, but and then you're putting them back on.
Yes, but we still do have mechanics help as well if we need them.
Okay, and then are you're making sure there's gas in the bike, all that?
They responsible for gas.
Okay,
good. So I believe like in the morning time they'll go around, they'll check everyone's bike. If it needs gas, they fill it up. If it doesn't, they're like, all right. But they take care of the gas. Hey, like, did you check your tire pressure? Like, they'll remind us to do small things like that. But they're not going around checking our tire pressures. Like, hey, what? They're making the adjustments,
right?
Or what suspension change you want to make, and they're doing like, no, that's on us to do.
So you did that. You had the first BTR weekend, and then there was a little bit of time between Road America and Ridge, right? So did you do any racing in between?
So I didn't do any racing in between. I did do so I train at a go-kart track on my Yamaha R3. So when I'm not racing, I'll spend time on that. Or if not doing that, I'm a coach with Evolve GT. So I'll do the track days and stuff like that. And I'll ride my ZX6 just to build up the speed, the momentum, just to see what times I run on it.
Get your eyes up, right?
Yeah. Practice some things too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like 600 eats up ground a lot quicker than a 400.
And the speed and everything is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to go into turn 10, for instance, at Summit like you on a 400, the same way you would on the 600 and vice versa. So, yeah.
So then you went from there to Washington, right? So tell me a little bit about what you thought of Washington, because it sounds like you'd never been there before either.
I haven't.
Is this going to be like the trend for you this season? You're going to go to tracks that you've never been to except for Jersey? Is that?
So we're not at Jersey.
Oh, you're not at Jersey. Okay.
No. Okay. So we have Brainerd and we have Pit Race, and those are our last 2 rounds.
Have you been to Pit Race?
No.
Wow. So the whole season you're just learning it. The first lap out is your first lap. Okay.
Exactly. Yep. So Washington was cool. We get there. And I'm like, and the first thing I noticed, like where we're pitted at, I'm like, oh man, what is that downhill doing? What is that corkscrew doing right there? And why is that elevation so deep like that? You know what I mean? I'm looking at it like, that's a lot of elevation, like going down a hill. And then our first practice out there, I'm like, all right, like, let me just slow walk everything. And like, cause none of the ladies have been there before. Like it was everyone's first time there.
Yeah.
So we're all going there. And I was like, you probably would have thought, it was rain out there. It was going so down the hill. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I need to get a feel for this thing. Like you have to slow the bike all the way down. It's not a corner. You can rush. You don't want to go in there too deep. Things of that nature. So the first lap, I'm like, all right, it's nice. It's different. You know what I mean? Like I'm not crazy over it. It's not like it was my favorite turn. But once we had to do qualifying, and I'm like, I like it. And then we did a race. I'm like, oh yeah, I love this track. Like automatically.
Yeah. I mean, I got to ride that track. I got to be dude for a day. Like Richard threw one of my R1s in the semi, and I got to go ride at a test. So literally on track, it was just me, Gagne and Bobier, and then the M4 guys. So it was Bobby Fong and Tony Elias at the time.
Yep.
And SDK. And that's it. Like all those guys and then me. That's it. And we did a lap around the track in the truck, no, in Richard's rental car the night before. And so, we got a little bit of that. Actually, we kidnapped Ken Hill, and Ken Hill walked us through, like, hey, the water tower, that stuff, right? You know all about the water tower, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I do.
yeah. Well, you got to look at it quite a bit. But yeah, like I was shocked on the R1, like how much I used first gear on that track. And they kept calling it on the corks. They kept calling it the corkscrew on
Yeah.
TV, and they've been calling it since they've started racing there on Motor America. But man, the first time I went through there, I looked at Richard and I was like, dude, this is just like Lombard Street in San Francisco. And he's
Wow.
like, oh my God, yeah, if there was some houses and planter boxes on either side, it would be just like
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Do you go down to first gear on the BTR bike?
So my gearing, I was only going down to second gear.
Okay.
Yep, and I was able to carry that momentum down the hill. Then I'll shift right before going to right before
Yeah.
getting.
Yeah, but you're right. There's not a whole lot of speed to be gained there, but you could certainly crash out of there really easy,
Yep.
So you just got to kind of get through that, right?
Yeah, I found myself there some times where I was like, I'm like, let me just see if I can break a little deeper, carry a little more speed. I'm like, yeah, no. I was like, I can already feel the bike. Like, yeah, I'm not made for this. We're not doing this today.
And I mean, I'm looking at your results right now. Like, race. Let's see, race 2, you won by 18 seconds, I think, and then race 1, you won by 16 seconds. I mean, it's like, I kind of wish that the other participants like would give you a little bit of something, but
Yeah,
guess
I would think the same thing, but also like going to a new track like that, a lot of elevations, and then gearing. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot that can, some people it may take them like they would need a track day to get everything right and then participate in a race weekend. But it's like race week. Luckily for me, being in the race space, like racing my 400, going to tracks that I haven't been to, it's like you got to be like quick with the mind. You got to like, hey, like you try it out. You know what I mean? The good thing is we have practice, we have qualifying 1 and 2, and then we have race 1. So I feel like if maybe race 1 didn't go so well, then you can make a change, whether it be gearing, suspension, whatever. I feel like there's a lot of times that we have, we can, make the changes that we feel is necessary to help us be better out there.
right. And I mean, whatever they're doing is not working, so they need to go back to the drawing board, right? So, I mean,
yeah, but I mean, it's a
you're doing your thing, and it's up to them to hang, right? I mean, it sounds like you're pretty switched on and getting the thing going, and maybe you doing your thing with the 400 and stuff is helping, or maybe I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I think, but it sure is cool. I mean, it's got to be cool to win national, right?
Yeah, it's always been a dream, you know what I mean? Like, I always tell myself, like, I want to be on the Motor America's, presence on the stage, you know what I mean? And showcasing my skills.
Yeah.
And, offering with an opportunity like this from Royal Enfield, I'm like, heck yeah, sure. Like I said, it's a bike it's a cafe style racer bike. Like, who races these as far as in the US? And I'm like, why not try? Like, I'm making this thing go fast. And, the good thing, what I do appreciate about it is, at least when I am up front, I'm showcasing to the other ladies that, these bikes are made to go so much faster. You carry so much speed. And I feel as though, as long as you trust the bike and have confidence in yourself, man, that's what I have. And I feel like that's my main thing to why I'm able to go as fast as I do, because I trust the bike. Like, I know the bike, I know my inputs have to be smooth. I can't be aggressive with it. And, once you have that connection with the bike, it's like, man, you can do a lot of things with it.
Yeah, you can do anything. You
can.
Right?
Yes.
You can get away with murder on the thing, right? Like that's cool. So I got a couple more comments coming in, and that Jonathan Tiller guy says he knows it's a little early, but are there any plans in Moto America after BTR for you, like Twins Cup or 400, or maybe 600? Like, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. You know what I mean? I would love to further my racing, experience, my racing career. I've only raced my 400 on a club racing level. So if I got the opportunity to do it on a professional level, oh, come on now, I would love to.
Come on now.
Yeah, like that's
like Junior Cup kind of thing, or.
Yep, Junior Cup.
Okay. Well,
But also
maybe,
watching the twins, I watched the twins, but then again, I watched the hooligans race. It was my first time actually watching the hooligans
dude.
out there, and I was like, oh my goodness, like these dudes and like the way they're going to these corners, like I was like, these bikes look super fun to ride. I mean, heck, even when I watched the King of Baggers at Road America,
Yeah.
and at first I was in the pad, I was in the pits under the tent, and I'm like, what? Who is out there? I go up there to the straightaway, and I'm like, the fact that these guys are out there riding these big bikes like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my dad has a motorcycle shop, so I see guys coming all the time for service. But the fact that they got these things into race trim and like they're killing it out there, and the way that they're riding, I'm like, it's very cool to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna ask you if you'd watched the other races, and you
Yes.
did. I mean, that those passes that Jeremy McWilliams and Tyler O'Hara were making on each
That,
other,
that
it's like,
last one, that last race they did
bro,
in the waterfall, I was like, oh my goodness,
woo,
like that
right?
was some
But they
excitement.
did it. They did the exact same pass on each other in reverse the day before.
Yep.
So I'm like, man, like they come from like a million miles away, outbreak. Man, I was like, that was
It's like
gnarly.
the speed that they carry in. Like I'm always impressed to see how much speed they carry in, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I to be able to get the bike slow down that much to still make it and carry that same speed down the hill and stuff like that. I'm like, that is just amazing. Like, wow. Like
yeah,
it just it shows the characteristic of the bike of like I said, what you can do to it. And I
yeah.
know they trust they trust in the bike out there, which is why they're able to make it do what it does.
Are you kind of paying attention to the other classes as well, or are you just more focused on your program or like Superbike? And I'm a big Superbike guy. Like I'm super big fan of just ridiculously fast motorbikes with lunatics ride them. I think it's great. Um,
I try my best. So this past weekend when we did the Ridge, by the time I was like, all right, I need to go see Twins Cup. I need to go see the Hooligan. I need to go see the Superbike. I need to go see all the races, whatever race is next. And I end up getting, by that time on Sunday, we ended up doing a fan walk. So then by that time, I was like, oh man, by the time I go over there, it's the podium. I'm like, man, I want to watch it. But then I found myself, like, I'll be rich on the bikes and I have my phone playing since it was Road America Live. And I'm like, all right,
yeah,
while I'm rich on the bike, I may not be like physically up there watching it, but I can at least watch it on my phone while I'm rich on the bike real quick.
that's awesome. You're at the track watching Live Plus.
Yep, yep. Whatever it
That's
takes, like I gotta
hilarious.
watch. Like, I can't leave the pit right now because I'm doing what I'm doing to the bike. But I'm like, you know what? Man, we got our phones right in our hands these days. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
and it's, like you said, the fact that it's live, you just watch it right then and there.
Have you taken any time to talk to some of the pro dudes that are doing Superbike or Super Sport at all?
So I have not yet. The main person I do know as far as in this space, is like Josh Hands, for instance. Like we used to ride at his house when me and my brother was younger.
Okay.
I told myself like after like we did Road America and Road America where we was pitted at, the walk was pretty far, or whatever. This time, like for the Ridge, we was right in front of, for instance, like Warhorse SBK with Josh Aaron. So we was like our whole strip was all we had the Attack Yamaha, we had the Hooligans down there on the other side. So everything was close nearby. But once we come off the track and by the time we're wrenching on the bikes and doing things real quick, it's like gotta take that moment. I did realize
Right.
this past like gotta take the moment to watch the other classes, like physically watch it, like, hey, I'm Mikayla, I'm riding with BTR, super cool watching you guys out there, things of that nature. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, go, at Brainerd, go introduce yourself to Cam P and Jake Gagne, man. Like,
The thing is,
and legit talk to them because you know what I mean. We were at I was at Portugal, and Kate Yakov came over and like had a chat with Jake there, and talking about different stuff on the racetrack, and so it might be a good opportunity.
yep,
you know and I've been there with them, and a lot of the riders have come over, and Tyler Scott, last year I watched Tyler Scott getting
yep,
some info from Jake to help
that's
him,
cool.
so I mean they're pretty giving with their time and info if they have it, so take advantage of that. you
Yeah,
know
you always
so,
learn something. That's the main thing.
yeah, always be learning, right?
Learning. So,
so
and
you
you always
said
get,
so you said your dad has a bike shop.
he does, yes.
So your dad was in the military and he got out and he started a bike shop, or how? Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so he had a mobile business. He had his truck and trailer, and he would go to he would do roadside for people and things of that nature. And then, it was crazy because my brother was younger. He was like, "You're gonna have a shop one day." My dad like, "You think so?" And he's like, "Yeah, like you're gonna have a shop." And then in 2015, my dad opened up his shop, and we helped him, family business. And I'm still in there helping him run his business and things like that. And that's why when they had the program like Build Your Race, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I love building bikes. You know what I mean? Even if it's not working on my own bikes, I like working on customers' bikes. You know what I mean?
Oh wow. So
Yeah.
you're legit mechanicking on people's stuff like on the
Yes.
daily.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Like
wow. Like they
I know.
couldn't have picked they couldn't have picked a bigger ringer for this class. Like somebody who's already a warrior, already knows how to work on her own stuff. Like, man, it's not even fair.
Well, when I saw the program like building, I'm like, yo, I do this on a day-to-day basis. Like,
Yeah.
and then when we got there, we was building our bikes, and they're just watching. They're like, you really do this? I'm like I told them I worked on bikes, and I think they're probably, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? But then, I was one of the first ones to finish the bikes. And they was like, man, I didn't know you had skills like this. Especially I'm the youngest in the group, with the program. So,
Yeah.
like I said, like I enjoy working on bikes the same way I enjoy racing bikes. I enjoy working on them.
So there's a couple more comments coming in. Let's hit those. That Brian Green, the corner guy, he says he's going to guess that gearing is super important on that bike. Um, he said they heard at least half of the girls sounded like they were bouncing off the rev limiter.
Yes.
So that
I
kind of goes.
I tried a gearing in qualifying one. It didn't go so well for me, and by the time I was on the front straightaway, I was running out of gear, and I was like, I made the wrong gearing change. I made the wrong gearing choice, and I was pretty upset about that because I'm like, I was beating myself up about it, and the kids are like, she still had the fastest qualifying time. Like, what are you so like? Don't beat yourself up. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, I like to make things like right the first time, but also no, it was a learning experience for me. So I took my do not run this gearing at the Rainbow Sports Park. It does not work for this track, and things of that. So, but yeah, gearing it is a big thing there.
Okay, and then the next one was Sir. Wait, Sir Spuds 25.
Okay.
He says next BTR race, the rest of the field gets a half a lap head start to give them a fighting chance against Mikayla.
You know, hey,
Wow.
I feel like Brainerd though. Brainerd, I feel like I looked at the track and like once I came back from the ridge,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at them like in the first like four corners, like gearing is a big thing. Like I feel like
You're gonna be
if
on the pin. You're gonna be on
yeah,
the pin.
right gearing and stuff like that, it's gonna be a lot of like back and forth, a lot of drafting going on, and it's really gonna show like, hey, if you made that right gearing choice, it will show within those first few corners.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that track, like another attack thing, I got to ride at that track too at a test, and literally
Nice.
it was me this time. It was Gagne, Heron, and Sculty, Matt Scults, and I'm on a R7,
Nice.
stock R7 with bodywork.
How do
So
you
it was awesome, but the thing is, it's a slow, right?
yeah.
The
Yeah.
speedometer is like 112, 113,
Oh, it works
right?
way okay.
And then I finally got it to where it would be like in the high 18s, low 20s. But man, it took a lot to get it there, and it's really funny. You come out of turn one and you go into turn two,
Yeah.
and you're like full stick, and the thing you lean the thing in, and it accelerates on the side of the
Yes.
tire, so your
Yes.
speedometer goes up, and you're like then you straighten it out, and it goes back down.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, couple of interesting things about that track. I noticed that when I was riding around there, I was like, man, there's a lot of walls around here. Like it looks
Yeah.
a little
I saw
weird. So that's a little weird. And then there's this carousel thing that you're on the side of the tire for like
that.
a pretty long period of time, and then you got to damn near go all the way around this thing, and then there's a chicane at the end
Oh
that
wow.
you got to flick, and the chicane, because if you exited that carousel thing the normal way, you would be pointed at a wall, so they
Oh
carousel you
man.
all the way around, and now you're
Yeah.
parallel to the wall. So
Gotcha.
yeah, like we were in the rental car, we're like, man, I wonder if we use that chicane because that wall is close,
Yeah.
so
Gotcha.
yeah, it's gonna be a fun experience for you, I think. But based on the other four races that you've won, um, I think you'll get it figured out pretty quick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, heck
Right
yeah.
on. Have you
I like.
watched any? Do you watch onboard video of the tracks or to help you
So
or
I'll do like for instance, so for Road America, I watched the BTR race itself. Now, granted, it was raining, but still, just to get a layout of it. And then I watched the onboard footage of it just so I can kind of be like firsthand, like okay, so in this corner, like for instance, like I found like looking at the track with the BTR race, the footage is perfect, but it does not tell you like how much runoff room you have, for instance. So when I actually roll the track, I'm like, oh man, I'm like turn one, like you can go in like deep. And even if you made a mistake, like there's a big runoff area, and then if you run it wide, you have time to correct yourself, basically. So
right?
I'll use the onboard footage and I'll use the overall layout of the track and put those two together just to get an idea, like, all right, here it is. But then also the good thing is before we do go out there and ride on Thursdays, once we're done loading, once we're done unloading, we'll do a track walk. And last time we took a track walk with Cody Lyman, and
Yeah.
then at Road America we took a track walk with Freddie Spencer, and he was like, this corner, and he was showing us reference points. So like, going under like at Road America after turn 3, he was like aim for the cheese sign, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So when I got on the track, I'm like, oh, these little
The cheese sign.
definitely helped because I'm like, it puts you, like they said, it puts you right in the race line. Like Joe Lamondre, he came over and I'm like, I'm coming out of the I believe it was turn 6, and I'm going down that hill, and I'm like, I'm like, it's weird because I'm trying to find the right line going in there. He's like, if you aim for the water truck, every time you come out that line, and he's like, it's gonna put you right in race line. And I tried it. I'm like, holy crap! Like it just off of that little bit of advice, it helped me, through the rest of the corners.
Right on. And it's
Yep.
same with the ridge, right? That water tower thing,
Yep.
right?
Aim
You
for the
come out of
truck. Yep.
that, you come out that carousel thing, and it's like, oh, look, there it is,
Yep.
and it lines you up perfect. That's awesome.
Yep.
Did you? I don't know. Did any of the BTRs crash over the weekend at Ridge?
Yeah, we had some downs. You know what I mean? It happens. It's racing.
Yeah, I mean, the ones I'm talking about were like the biggest crashes I saw anyway were in that fast downhill, the water tower turn, and then obviously the Lombard Street thing.
Yep.
So, is that like are those the two places that the BTR riders crashed to, or no?
So one of the riders two of them have went down going into the waterfall. They came back and were like, what happened? And they're like, they just, too much brake, you know what I mean? Too much front end input. And,
Yeah.
that's a corner you have to slow down for. Another corner was turn 11. She came in there. She was too low in the gear. And by the time she was really on the gas, it just low side on her. And then turn 6, one of the other riders went down again. Actually what happened, and she didn't really get like into it, but I think in qualifying, like, they recorded it. I didn't watch the qualifying race, or I didn't watch the qualifying footage, just to see exactly what happened. But there is some, like, being on the track, like, going to turn 6, I almost went down if I didn't say the false neutral, and that was just,
Oh wow.
I thought that I was actually in gear, and I just downshifted twice, and instead of upshifting, I went for that lower gear. And luckily, I was able to save it because that happened to me before my 400. I learned my lesson from then. So the 400, I went in the corner. I was at New Jersey, and I was going to turn 5, and I downshifted, and I like the whole bike would I could just hear the whole transmission trying to find the gear, and I downshifted. Worst mistake I
Right
could
on.
do. I ended up going to the corner. The bike high sided me. I messed up my shoulder, and I was like, one of the girls came over. She's like, yeah, whenever you hit a false neutral, you always want to go in the higher gear. I'm like, yeah, I will always remember that. Always go in the higher gear.
Yeah. So, in your racing so far, what's your favorite track that you've been to?
So with the new tracks that we've been to so far in the BTR, I would still say that VIR North is my favorite track.
VIR North.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why is
Like,
that?
I like the elevation, like especially the roller coaster. You know what I mean? Like when you're coming down that hill, and then what leads you on the front straightaway and the kink. Those, like, that whole like sector is like the whole back sector is like my favorite part. We go up
That's
the hill,
awesome.
Patriot, and then you got to go to the right, you go to the left, and then like by the time you're at the top of that hill, you're going down a roller coaster. Like being on my 400, I'm like, oh yeah, like it's just all gas. You know what I mean? Like trailing to the corners and get back on the gas by the time you're at by the time you're at the bottom of the hill. So yeah, VR is my favorite.
That's awesome, man. And then like what's your I guess what would you say is your like best moment so far racing?
I would say my best moment so far racing, that probably would be doing a team challenge with my brother and my dad at Daytona. My dad was like, man, it'll be so cool if we all can race at Daytona. And I ended up surprising him. He had his 400 and it wasn't like quite ready. So like the whole week in the shop, I was just putting me and my brother, we were just putting his race bike together. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" I'm like, "You're racing at Daytona. Like we talked about this. We're actually going to do that." And we went down there, we raced, and then they had a team challenge, and they're like, if you guys want to do it, go for it. And we ended up doing the team challenge. Now, was a little scary, a little bit, only because we was racing with like bigger bikes, but it was a fun experience too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you're in an age group that doesn't have a lot of people doing this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most people your age are playing whatever video game or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like, and you're out doing it for real. So what advice would you give to somebody else in your age group or a little bit younger than you to do what you're doing?
My main advice is like, if you're gonna go for something, go for it. Don't give up on your dreams. My dream was to always be a part of Moto America, and the fact that I'm able to do that is like, I'm so big on like manifestation. Just because it's like, when I was younger, my dad always said, if you want things to come into reality, you gotta speak of things, and you gotta act like you're already there. So, when you're out
Yeah.
there riding your bike, things like that nature, like act like you're getting ready to go into the Moto America Junior Cup race that weekend and see yourself already racing with those kids out there. So, they always told us, like, don't give up on your dreams, like, keep pushing forward. Even if it's not in the timing that you want things to happen, I always feel like the timing is right and things do happen for a reason.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. I appreciate your time. Do you have any like sponsors you want to thank there
Um,
for keeping you
sure,
going?
sure.
I'm giving you this platform. Do it,
Yeah.
man.
So, my main sponsors, of course, my parents. Dad. My dad got me into this, and then even my mom. My mom, they both fully support me, in my racing endeavors. And then, Royal Enfield, out of all bikes, to be given the opportunity to race on the Royal Enfield in the Moto America space is like a great opportunity. Parts Unlimited, a ride, Bison, my suit that's out there, it looks phenomenal. Like they did a very good
Bison,
job.
those are the dudes that like travel the country in their motorhome, right?
Yes, they do. And like the best part is like their TrackDaz support, so it makes everything easier. So if I need anything, I'm like, hey guys, I don't have to be like, oh man, I gotta ship my suit back to them or anything like that. Alpine Star, I got the boots. And I like to add my own designs to it. So my boots now they have a rose gold color look to it to match the bike more and stuff like that.
We'll have to talk about that offline.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, yeah, just everyone that just supported me, you know what I mean? Like Evolve GT, New Jersey Mean GP. Thanks everyone for watching and thank you for giving me this platform to talk with you. I had a great time.
Well, I'll be watching you the rest of the BTR series and basically watching you smoke everybody the rest of the season. Like, wow, it's like I said, man, it looks like it's not even fair. Right on. Well, you know what? I wish you the best of luck and thanks. Right? All right,
Yeah.
cool.